So obviously the big issue that we're talking about is around supply and demand within IT, and we've covered that basically from around the late 90s onwards, with a lot of people talking about there's not enough people, we can't find people. Whenever we publish stories about that, we get a lot of animosity, quite frankly, from readers who have told us they've been looking for a job for X number of months. They feel they're completely qualified, they've taken all the courses, and there's just no opportunity for them. Or they give us feedback that employers are asking for a laundry list of qualifications that just aren't realistic. To give you an example, I have a letter here from Jeff, who writes, "I've been hearing these cries about the skills shortage for a decade now, and they are all crocodile tears. I sometimes wonder if these articles are written so that more people will choose IT as a career so that they can pay the current IT professional lower and lower wages. As a junior consultant, I've also found that IT consulting is more to do with customer perception. If your IT skills are low, you can more than make up for it if you BS the customer. I've heard terms like communication, soft skills, but often enough these terms are just code for manipulation. Ask anyone if they have been in IT for more than 5 years, especially if they've been administrating networks or within a customer support structure, about how much respect they get. As for pay, traditional trades make about the same or more. Ask how much a network admin makes versus a fully trained HVAC technician. And yes, I'm thinking about a career change." So a lot of frustration. I guess how do we align with what some of the people are seeing as a lack of skilled talent, and those that feel they're either in the job already or are trying to get back into it and can't find a niche for themselves?
Yeah, and I think breaking it along the lines of sort of the demand and supply conversation, or if you think of it as the employer and the potential employee side, it is a good way to break this problem down. I think the comment is, it's a tough one. I think there's a lot in there. One of the elements of that is the concept of the shortage in terms of raw numbers itself. Our surveys show that if you just do the raw math on numbers of people, no, there isn't necessarily a mathematical deficit in the number of people that we have in the market. The problem really comes in, and if we think on the supply of talent, the problem really comes into a few areas. One is location. Are the right people, and I don't think IT is the only place where this is a problem, but if you think about who our profession supports, take oil and gas or other industries that are very location specific, obviously the jobs in support of those industries are going to be drawn into those geographic locations. I think that's one of a few examples. But geography, when our survey recently showed that geography was a contributor, I think, to this perception and reality of a skills shortage. So while there may have been plenty of people for the jobs that we had, if they all live in Vancouver and the jobs are all in Montreal, the people in Montreal are going to perceive there being a raw shortage of people. That's at a base level.
Yeah.
I think when you build from that, I think this comment about the types of skills is an important thing for us to dig into. And there's two ways to look at it. If we take it from the employer, the demand side of the equation, I think companies are looking for individuals who are going to show those skills that are not just raw technical talent, but also have the ability to bridge into solving true business need. And I think that's where some of the cynicism comes in, things like soft skills and communication, and it does get wrapped in perhaps language that has been used time and time again. But there is a core nugget of very important reality that I think the employer is looking for, is that IT, and what we talked about at the beginning around IT as a strategic asset and an ever-growing strategic asset for a business, the people that support it need to have the same essentially business acumen to understand, are we able to use technology to make the company more efficient and more agile? Are we driving innovation into the business? Can we show the return on investment in the projects that we do? I think some of the comments around the quality of work and the impact of the work, I think that's a good point. I think as a profession, we have to stand and be accountable. And in tougher times, execution excellence gets highlighted. People are going to perhaps hold you to a higher bar than they may have in previous times, and we've seen that in the waves as the economy has gone through over the years. But that doesn't change the fact that on the demand side, those skills, those business skills, are going to be at the top of people's lists. And even if you're in a role, say a much more pure technical role, where you might say that business skill doesn't seem as relevant, there's still the reality of how businesses work with smaller, cross-functional teams of people, diversity of communication styles, and other aspects of diversity in the workplace that all require those skills to be in place. You cannot just ignore those skills. It is pretty important. And as an industry that I think has been slow on the uptake on the diversity side, that is finally beginning to really chip away at some of the diversity concerns, whether that be cultural or the number of women in IT as an example, something that we spend a lot of time promoting. You're going to end up with very different groups of people working in the industry, and they have to be able to work together. So the soft skills become pretty important. But then you add to that how you get the job done. The skills shortage can also highlight places where the employer is looking for people who can take them into the new generation of where technology is going. I mean, I think there are certain things like services, the impact of the web, the impact of mobility and wireless and other technologies that require people user experience as a real focus in software design, as an example. There's a set of skills that people are very specifically looking for, and rightly so, because these are trends that are not just the next great thing in technology. They are very fundamental technologies to helping companies be more agile and be more competitive. And if the staff really isn't going to be able to keep up, employers are going to. You really do need to demand that those skills be there. I think there's the aspect of, do employers sometimes put the laundry list too long? That's a topic we can certainly get into. But I think what we find as people are on the demand side, there is a feeling that there's a war for great, talented people between organizations, and I think that compounds a skill shortage feeling.
I want to come back to a bit about that business skill. I would say about at least 4 to 6 times a year, somebody will send me an email saying, you know what, I'm in IT and I've been there for a little while and I haven't moved up a lot. Would you recommend at this point I go back and maybe get an MBA, or at least take some business classes? I know Microsoft offers a lot of resources around skills development. Do you have any thoughts maybe on what people in that kind of middle rung should be doing, maybe to learn a bit about what you're talking about?
Yeah, and it's a great point. It sort of segues us a bit into what the supply of talent should be thinking about. I think the jump to, hey, should I get my MBA, might be a little radical for a lot of people. The reality is some of those perceived soft skill developments, and not to say that an MBA is not a great thing for certain people to do, because it is, but it's expensive, it's time consuming, it's not certainly for everyone. I think there's lots of other ways that people can think about their own personal and career development plans and how they work on certain skills, and really trying to hone how they think about whether it's their business skills or communication or teamwork skills. I think there are very simple, easy, and cost-effective to free ways to do that. You mentioned in the opening the Ignite Your Career series that we sponsored, a really interesting set of topics, particularly for us. Usually people go to a Microsoft webcast to hear about what's new in SQL Server or some technology. But we've listened to the industry, really those hundreds of thousands of IT professionals in Canada who said to us, hey, yes, we want to keep up on your technology. So the speeds and feeds of what your products do and the solutions you bring to market, yes, we're always going to want to know that. But we need help. On the supply side of this equation, we're feeling lost. We need some guidance, and we need a different kind of support. And we listened to that and really felt compelled to answer the call. That combined with, I think, some of the surveys that we've done across the industry and some of the partnerships we have, not just with the IT industry organizations, but also with some of the academic organizations as well, like the Association of Canadian Community Colleges, who tell us that as they're training their students, they need to, there's a worry that, are we giving people the right skills for when they graduate to take their place, and perhaps as people retire, as we head into new parts of IT, have they trained these people really, really well? And it can't be go get your LAN certification and also get your MBA at the same time. That's certainly not going to be practical. We've covered topics in the Ignite Your Career series on things like everything from thinking about your resume to topics about connecting back to the business and bridging the gap between the business and IT sides of an organization, thinking about growing your leadership skills. I think some people think leadership, well, I'm not the boss, I'm not the CIO. Everyone has leadership opportunities every day. And so sometimes when we talk about those soft skills, if people thought about, I lead a team, I motivate a group of people around me, I'm a great supporter of my peers. Are there simple and straightforward things I can do to think about how I execute every day when I come into the office? And so programs like Ignite Your Career and other efforts that we have in the industry, I think are going to help people build their own little development plans. The evidence, we do a lot of webcasts in Canada, usually for any one topic, 50 to 100 people will sign in at a time. The first Ignite Your Career webcast, there were 400 people on this webcast. There's 2,800 people signed up for the whole series, right? As of right this second. It's an overwhelming vote from the IT community saying we need these skills, we need this kind of help. And I don't think Microsoft's alone in focusing on this, but we're pretty excited and we think we owe it to the IT industry to help all IT professionals with building that skill set. So that's on the soft skills. I mean, the other side of the supply equation is, as people get frustrated on keeping up with technology, right? So every day, Microsoft or anybody else, okay, there's a new version of this, there's a new version of that. And we've understood that and really have tried to focus on helping people grow the skills that help them get their day-to-day job done well, and then help them put into the right context what is coming next, and help them better prepare and be a little more proactive instead of reactive in their technical skills development. So are we helping people not only understand how to use the tools that they have today, but help them pick the tools and skill sets on the technical side that they'll need tomorrow, understanding things like the cloud and web services and user experience and some of these other themes that are going to become pretty important in everybody's day job.